Okay, hello. It's Paul Green here from the business community, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Jessica Shailes from the Ideal Marketing Company. Good morning, Jess.
Good morning, Paul. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So this, I think, is about third or fourth one that I've done. So hopefully I'm getting the hang of it by now, but who knows? We're live and we're just going to have to get on with it anyway. So Jess, to those people that possibly won't know you, do you want to introduce yourself to whoever's listening or watching?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jessica Shailes. I run the Ideal Marketing Company, which is a full service marketing company. We are based in Market Harborough, but we serve all of the United Kingdom.
Okay. So what I'm going to do today is ask you some hopefully interesting questions and learn a little bit about your journey and where you've ended up to today. And then also you've agreed to do a few minutes and educate us on picking the right market measurements, I believe was your topic of choice. So looking forward to that later. So I stalked you a little bit on LinkedIn, Jess. Don't be afraid. And had a little look at your background. It seems that you've pretty much always been in marketing. So was marketing something that you always knew you wanted to get into?
Of some sort, yeah. I think that over time, I've kind of focused in on digital marketing, definitely. But actually, I wanted to be a psychologist when I was at school, but I didn't really fancy the years and years of qualifications and the expense and everything else. And I went to a career guidance counsellor, and I said, well, I enjoy psychology, but I want to make lots of money. So they suggested advertising, or the advertising industry. So the course that I picked for my degree was one that was very vocational and should kind of filter into the advertising industry, or in London. I had some really good ties with agencies in London, but by the time I'd actually finished that course, that's one of the benefits of a vocational qualification, is you get to really test what it's like. And I changed my mind. I still liked marketing, but the advertising industry didn't appeal to me in the same way.
Okay.
So instead, I looked at other things. So I've messed around. I kind of cringed just then, because I know that I've got work experience as a Christmas elf, I think.
Didn't go that far.
There we go.
Damn, wasn't stalking you well enough. Must do better next time. I did notice that you had a business a few years ago called Everything for Redheads.
Yes.
So tell me about that business. I was quite intrigued by that as a title.
That was one of those. I was in South Korea for 2 years, kind of as a break from. I think it was just a great opportunity. And then when I came back, I started to do freelance website design and social media and stuff like that. I was living in Yorkshire, and it was kind of a conversation around the breakfast table with my mum. She's also a redhead, and it's kind of a cruel twist of nature that once you kind of grow to accept having red hair, it starts to fade as an adult. And it's just how nature is. But we'd found different hair products that deposited a tiny bit of colour that just kind of helped to enhance, so you didn't get too strawberry blonde whilst shampooing, or so you're not full on dyeing your hair, you're just enhancing what's there a little bit. But these products always used to go out of stock, and I think a lot of that was because there's not enough redheads for it to be worth catering to us on the high street. So Mum and I were talking about it, and she said, well, why don't we do something about it? Why don't we go out there? Because even though it might not be worth catering to us on the high street, doesn't mean there's still not a very big market worldwide that would be ideal for an online store. And because of my marketing background, I was able to create the logo, create the website, do the product photography, set up all the email marketing and all those other things. So setup costs were finding the product, getting the kind of supply chain in and a lot of it was at cost. The marketing stuff, it was just my time. So she invested in the stock, and I invested in my time, and was doing it alongside the freelance website design and social media. So it was an interesting time. I also set up Redhead Day UK, which is still going on. It's being run by somebody else now, but it was a route to market that I just thought. I noticed that in other countries there's the Irish Redhead Convention, there's Redhead Day in Holland as well, and there wasn't one in the UK, and I just thought, well, I want that list, I want that route to market. and it seemed like a great opportunity. And also because I'd enjoyed the events that I've gone to so much. It's a really zany kind of a experience to go and meet with people just because you've got the same hair color. You know, and you get some really open-minded people there, I think, because you can't take yourself too seriously if you're traveling to another country to go and hang out with gingers. You know, you normally got quite an open mind, I think.
Well, many years ago, I used to be ginger, but mine's less about colouring now, more about keeping my hair. But anyway, so fast forward. So you're now the Ideal Marketing Company. So I know you took over that business. Was it a couple of years ago now?
So it was January. I'm coming up to my 2-year anniversary for the managing director position. So it was January 2021. That'll be 2 years. Yeah, and I did work in the company before that. In fact, everything for Redheads did play a part, I think, in me ending up working for the Ideal Marketing Company before I moved into the managing director role. I learned an awful lot from everything for Redheads, from marketing. I think being the business owner and doing the marketing was a unique position, or a position that I really benefited from, because I got to see what a business owner would care about. Like, as in, okay, well, what am I going to invest in? Is that impacting my bottom line, etc.? And also, it was a dream place for social. It was a dream audience for social media. But I ended up joining the Ideal Marketing Company because when I moved back to Market Harborough, I went networking and I met a guy called Alistair Campbell, who was the founder of the Ideal Marketing Company and ran it at the time, and he's ginger. Well, he was ginger, and so we were having a bit of a talk, and I said about the website design, but I mentioned everything for Redheads, and I think he just thought that I was like kooky enough to maybe fit in well with him. Like, it's one of those, and it was one of those. I think even now it's one of those businesses that you can talk about and people go, huh. And it, you know, it kind of gets a few laughs. So we talked, and I started to do their website stuff, working as a freelancer, and then joined the team. The Ideal Marketing Company has been going since 2003. So, and traditionally was more about the more traditional marketing, like PR, advertising strategy, things like that, and a lot of content. And then websites have become part of what they did, but it was kind of outsourced. They were working with another partner. So when I joined the team, I brought the digital marketing into it, and now it's not just me. There are other people on the team who kind of specialize in the digital marketing areas, but we still do a lot of the PR stuff. But then over time, it's probably about 6 years, I think, before I moved into the managing director position. So I've been working for the company for a long time before moving into that role. I've now forgotten what the question was, Paul.
No, we just
completely got off.
I forgot what the question is now. I should do this better. No, so I met Alistair networking as well, because I run a group in Market Harborough, as you know. And I guess it was tragic circumstances that led to you eventually buying the business. But I guess there's some good news out of that. You mentioned there's an award that you now do in memory of Alistair. For those that don't know, Alistair sort of like passed away, untimely death, really, and quite a shock, I guess, for everybody, certainly for me. So yeah, just want to say a little bit about that and what you now do to honour his memory. Yeah,
Alistair was definitely a larger than life character who was very well known locally, and you know, I think part of that is because he helped so many people. He was very active in the Chamber of Commerce and different networking groups, and it was a surprise because he was so healthy and 49 at the time when he collapsed. So we as a company went through, we really, I suppose, rallied together to do what we could do to support Alistair. And Helen, who ran the company with him, had been working with the Ideal Marketing Company for most of the time that it existed, and to do what we could do, I think, to support his family and do what we wanted. And Helen is still an important part of what we do. When Helen made the decision that she didn't want to continue to run Ideal, but wanted to, I think in some ways, honour Alice's legacy herself, she asked me if I would consider taking over, and we worked together on that. It was important when I did to be able to put, I think there's this balance between making something your own, but also honouring what came before you. And there's a reason why I worked for the Ideal Marketing Company for that many years, is that I believed in the values, and I still do believe in the values that got us to where we are. And so it's no kind of effort for me to continue to continue the same kind of values that Alistair already had. My tutor from university, actually, funnily enough, Vic, he said, why don't you do something that is honouring, I suppose, that legacy, whilst also being able to move. I suppose it's being able to move forward whilst also marking it. So we work closely with De Montfort University. I do some guest lecturing, and we've worked with them in the business, Leicester Business Festival. And we're now running the Alistair Campbell Marketing Mentor Award annually, which it's marketing students on their marketing courses. They put together business plans as part of their qualification, and then there's maybe the top 4 or 5 are shortlisted, and then I review them from a kind of more professional. It's not about the marks and the grades, but would I be happy to put this in front of clients? Is there good reasoning related to business objectives, the kind of things that we would care about as a real world marketing agency. And then we award one of those entries the Marketing Mentor Award, and with that they get work experience with us. There's also like a subscription to a magazine that they might care about as well, and that's an annual one award that we've ran for the first year this year.
Okay, excellent. I didn't know about that. It's really interesting to learn about. So often on the, I say often, we've done a few of these, so something that I'm quite interested in is what's your why? So I'm sure you're familiar with Simon Sinek, Start With Why. So I just wondered, we've probably touched on it a little bit, but I just thought, maybe you could sort of expand on, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what drives you to, lead your company forward?
Essentially helping businesses to fulfill their potential. There are a lot of great products and services and businesses out there that just aren't getting in front of their audience, and that's the job of marketing. And I suppose I talked about it a while ago. If you think about what you'd be in the zombie apocalypse, say there were no jobs and there's no internet and there's no computer, what would your role be? And I think I'd be a problem solver. Okay. Like that's the main thing that I do is, okay, well, what have we got and where are we and what can we do with it? So I'm really driven to help businesses connect with their ideal audience and grow as well, because if you can't get in front of your ideal audience, the people that you serve, then they're missing something. They're missing out on your service. They're missing out on the thing that you do and the solution that you provide. So not only are we helping the clients that we support, we're helping the people that they support, and kind of connecting everybody together with the skill set that we have, because somebody's skill set might be creating a widget. Their skill, it's not the marketing of that widget. I think it's just them filling in those blanks and making sure that the chain is connected, and that people can get to what they want.
So what's your view on how good small businesses are at marketing?
I think a lot of small businesses are set up by people who are very good at what I think it's probably referring to what I've just said. They're technicians. They're very good at what they do, and they've worked in a company and they've probably done very well working for somebody else, where other departments, or there are other people there with skill sets who are doing the accounts and they're doing the sales and doing everything else. So I think there's an awful lot of small businesses that get set up by people who are very good at the technical elements, but maybe are not great at understanding exactly why what they do is valuable. And there's an awful lot of marketing that is common sense, although sense isn't necessarily that common, they say. Really, it's to do marketing well, you need to understand the value that you provide, and now more than ever, it's important to recognise what that is, because people having to change how they demonstrate that value and how they share that value. Obviously, we're going through this period of change, and we will continue. Things will continue to change in different ways, and people need to be adaptable. So the better they understand the value that they provide to their customers, then they'll know how to provide that in a different way. That then impacts understanding the value impacts their content, their marketing strategy, how they interact, how they deliver the service, how they follow up service, and everything else. The better you understand your audience, the easier that is to do. And you know, Paul, from seeing me talk before at BizCom, I love talking about personas and avatars and really getting into the psychology of somebody's audience. And I think that's where really good quality marketing comes from, is understanding what's going on in your client's head.
Yeah, well, you preempted my next question. Really, seems to be a sort of fear. I'm making it up as I go along, Jess. Don't worry. There seems to be a fear for smaller businesses to pick a niche or to pick a target audience. What's your view on that? What do you think stops them, or what is that fear?
Yeah, it's a fear that you're leaving money on the table. I'd say maybe instead of thinking about it as niching, do think about it as targeting, and they are different.
Yeah.
You're not saying no to anybody. What you are doing is with open arms, welcoming in particular people that you know that you can serve really well, and really benefit from your service. So with personas, you're really getting into somebody's head by saying, right, well, why are they looking for you? What problem do you solve? What do they want at the end of it? And then being able to say directly, yes, this thing that you're looking for, we can do. And kind of you're saying that. At the end of the day, if you don't go through that exercise, then you're just making your clients or your potential clients work harder to figure out whether your service or product is exactly what they need. So yeah, I definitely think of it as targeting and just making life easier for your ideal customers to find out that you're what they're looking for, almost like a matchmaking. You know, it's just making it easier for them to click into place and recognize the benefit that you provide. In a lot of places.
Okay, so you took on the MD-ship, is that a word? Is now a couple of years ago. It can be quite difficult, you know, when the buck stops with you ultimately. Yeah. So who supports you in business?
I have got. I think the BizCom community, that has made a big difference to me, definitely. I have found that experience of moving from being employed to being the boss, something that I probably couldn't have prepared for fully or really understood. And I think I've got a lot more respect or understanding of really what it takes to run a company. There's the responsibility, like you say, with the book stopping with you, but also the highs and lows. I feel like the pendulum swings so much further in different directions. Like the highs and the lows are much greater, and often in the same day as well, whereas you just don't get those really positive, elated feelings of responsibility can be very positive if you get good results, and then you kind of brace for impact for the next thing that's going to come through the door. But yeah, I think the one thing, if I was going to give advice to my past self, or, you know, to go back to and talk to that person who was embarking on this adventure 2 years ago, it would be don't try and do it by yourself. I've been very lucky that Helen was an active part for a long time and really, really helped me kind of get used to where things were, and I really relied on her quite heavily. There's this community that I've got some great business friends, I think, and being able to do the networking with BizCom, that makes a big difference to me. And it definitely did at the beginning of the pandemic, because I could have been at panic stations if I let some of the kind of negative messages that I was getting to really take over. So being around positive people, that's made a really big difference. But also I've got a coach as well, and that makes a really big difference, knowing that I've got that person that I check in with on a regular basis. I've got a to-do action, stuff to do for my business. I think working within a company, you get used to the job being this task list of stuff that you do for other people, but in order to drive your business forward, those tasks are very different, and they might not seem like, it's not the billable work, but it's the work that improves the value of the company in the long term. And that shift can be quite a difficult one to make if you spent your entire career being used to doing the work for the people. It's the bill from our perspective, it's the billable work. That's where the value comes in. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be messing around with systems and software and things that feels like you're playing about, but actually some of those activities are what make the difference in the long term to the value of the company and what you can achieve.
Okay. Thank you. So there's a number of, I guess, marketing agencies, marketing consultants out there. What would you say makes you different from your competitors?
I think we are full service. So there's you possibly see the list there. There are other full service agencies, of course. So that makes a big difference, and it really helps me because I've got no incentive to try and sell one service over the other. Really, it's I'm not trying to sell websites as the solution when it's not, and that can be great for me. We really get to understand the business objectives and align any marketing with the business objectives. There will be marketing companies out there who do it, but we're very thorough in that initial research phase, making sure that, it's an investment in the long term, really, in making sure that we understand what role the marketing is supposed to play. What exactly, it won't just be a bit of social media. It's okay, well, if we're doing social media, why do we think this is the solution, and let's make sure that it is. Understanding the audience is a key part of that persona development and psychology, and that then helps getting the message right. So I'd say that's really our difference. It's been very thorough in understanding the marketing goals and the audience before moving forward with any kind of marketing plan and a messaging. Okay.
So outside of the pandemic, which I think has been pandemic, which has been probably most small business biggest challenge in recent times, what's been your biggest challenge outside of that you've had to face since you've been with the Ideal Marketing Company?
I suppose it's been getting to grips with what would always have been a very steep learning curve. Stepping into some very big shoes, which always was going to be a challenge taking over because Alistair was so well known, whilst also dealing with the fallout of, I suppose, the impact of Brexit on the. I think there've been quite a lot of people who aren't happy to make investments in or haven't been happy to make investments in marketing. I think that's shifted now. It's changed because businesses, I think, have got used to the fact that there's always going to be something. There's always going to be, okay, well, maybe, I don't know what's going to be around the corner. Maybe about 18 months ago, I saw a lot of people it was just more difficult to get people through into making a commitment because they were hesitant about what was coming around the next corner. But we've had so many things happen that I think business owners have just accepted there will always be something. If we want to have a business in the future, we can't keep delaying investing in our marketing. So I've seen a real shift there, but at one point it was a real challenge. So there were a few there. It was the very steep learning curve, stepping into Alistair's shoes, I suppose, trying to decide what I wanted for the future of the company, and also dealing with just perception around Brexit, and then there was this fresh hell in March. I kind of miss the warm embrace of Brexit at the moment, but I've seen people this year. I've seen another shift over the summer where people have decided, right, well, this is the time to invest in our marketing, which is really encouraging to see.
Okay. So I know you listen to podcasts because you introduced one to me, which I particularly enjoy, Drunk Women Solving Crime. Highly recommend it. Is it just for pleasure you listen to podcasts, or do you listen to big business podcasts? Do any you recommend for businesses?
It's a combination. I suppose it really does depend on what's going on. I also listen to audiobooks, so I've got some non-fiction and some fiction. A daily recommendation would be the Daily Stoic. I think that's pretty good as well. And the digital human, that's really interesting from a digital it's a kind of a business one, but it's more about humans. It's a little bit of both. I'm just trying to think of any business ones that I listen to. I could write a big long list, I think. But yeah, Drunk Women Solving Crime is definitely not business, is it?
It's definitely not business, but I would highly recommend it, as long as you don't mind a few swear words.
No, there's some very interesting. Yeah, I'm struggling to think of any business related ones that I listen to now. So yeah, it's mostly for fun now that I think about it.
So on the subject of fun, because it's not all work, what do you do for hobbies, relaxation?
In the past few months, possibly not very much, but I find getting outside and just being outdoors is a really important part of just looking after my mental health as much as physical health. And the more stressed I might feel, the more important it is. I kind of feel the call of the outdoors more at those times. I think if I had a proper routine in place, I'd be playing the piano, which I haven't been doing. My mum's a piano teacher, so I'm not sure how happy she is at my complete lack of playing the piano. I really enjoy art as well, so I have got a load of paintbrushes, which my dad used to do quite a lot of oil paintings and stuff like that. So very artistic. There's a lot of artistic, creative, and kind of outdoor things that I would love to do if I had more time, and at some point it will happen, definitely. But those are the kind of things I cook a lot. I do enjoy cooking, and I like cooking from scratch, and that's something that I think even I've got to be pretty unwell or like I just don't do ready meals or anything like that. So I think that's the one thing that survives no matter what else is happening in life. Cooking from scratch is something I spend the time on.
Excellent. Okay, so you kindly agreed to give us to share some of your knowledge, and I think I asked you gave me a choice. Appreciate that, and I think that picking the right marketing measurements is something that I thought might be quite interesting. So I'm going to switch you to full screen if I can do that, and really just hand over the floor to you, Jess. So there you go. The floor is yours.
Okay, great, thank you. So on the topic of choosing the right marketing measurements, it's really easy to do that if you start with what your business objectives are, or what the business aims are that the marketing is supposed to fulfill. So that sometimes can feel counterintuitive. People are going, oh, well, what measurements have I got? What is available from the marketing that I'm doing? But I'd encourage anybody to step back and go, actually, what are we hoping to achieve with our business? How can the marketing support that? So then what is the plan? And then take the marketing measurements from there. And obviously at the end, you'd want to make sure that the business objectives are being tracked as well. So first step, what are your business objectives for the next year? Then how will your marketing plan support those objectives? What measurements are possible from the marketing channels that you've worked with? So if your campaign is digital, if you're doing digital marketing, or if part of it is, this means setting up the right tracking software in the first place. It might be Google Analytics, it might be Facebook Pixel. And in any of those places, also defining what success is. It's not enough to just add the tracking software there. There's an awful lot of data that's available, but you have to say explicitly or teach the software, essentially, if somebody does this thing, that's successful for me, and that counts as a goal conversion. So in Google Analytics, it is called a conversion. In business terms, it's actually a lead in most cases. So it's actually a business lead. And that really then gives you more insightful analytics or insightful insights than you would have otherwise. If you are looking at a more traditional form of marketing that's to build brand awareness, maybe that is your business objective, is actually to be known better, then the way to measure that would be to look at brand mentions, how much more frequently people are searching for your brand. If you're doing search engine optimization, then we're used to trying to, the objective being to get a company found for what they do, what their products or services, and that's the objective. But if you are looking to raise brand awareness, then being found in search engines for what your company name is a really good sign that the rest of your marketing is doing very well. One of the places to look for that is your Google My Business, because that will tell you how frequently you are found for what you do versus brand mentions and who you are. The last thing is to really make sure you recognize the difference between vanity and clarity metrics, because like I said, Google Analytics, that can give you a lot of data, but an awful lot of that might just be about vanity. Things like, and they can be indicators of success, but they don't have an impact on the bottom line. Things like Facebook page likes. An example would be, if you just wanted Facebook likes, then you could run a competition to give away a £50 Amazon voucher, which I've seen quite a lot. That is against Facebook's terms and conditions, and has always been a bad idea. So you shouldn't do it. But the point is, if you've got a load of likes for that, then you've got an audience that is not interested in your brand at all, but you've got a load of likes. So it goes to show how they can have nothing to do with each other at all. What you've probably also done is kind of screwed up your future algorithm, because if that audience aren't engaged with you, then that's not going to look great for Facebook. So that's a whole other story. The other thing that you can do is have a look at, within Google Analytics, once you've set up conversion tracking properly, you are going to be able to see if a lead has been generated from traffic. But you wouldn't necessarily expect that social media, for example, even though it is a really good brand building form of marketing, it's unlikely to lead to a conversion first visit. So if you really want to view the success of, or the impact of your social media in the long term, then look at multi-funnel, I think it's called, the multi-channel funnels overview, and also a top conversions path report in Google Analytics, because it doesn't just tell you about that last visit that led to a conversion, which is probably a direct visit by the time somebody comes to actually call you or fill out your contact form. It tells you about, in the past 90 days, where else did they come from, and maybe social media was the first visit, maybe search engine was the second one, and maybe a direct visit was the third, which led to a conversion. So it gives you a better view of the impact that any kind of supporting marketing that you're doing might have, rather than just looking at whether social media leads to conversions, which it very, very rarely does. So that's it really. Start with your business objectives and then plan from there, and you'll find that the marketing metrics do automatically come out.
Okay, thank you very much, Jess. That's great. So whilst I share your contact details so people watching can get in touch with you, if you were to give one top tip for a small business, what would that be?
Don't try and do it alone. Nobody has all of the answers. Even some of the most successful business people in the world, they still continue to have mentors and groups of business friends who they lean on. So nobody knows it all. I definitely don't try and do it alone.
Great advice. Great advice. So your ordeal is over, Jess. Hopefully it wasn't too bad for you. So I appreciate you giving up your time today. Anybody listening, watching on a replay, then if you've got any questions of Jess, I'll tag her on social media, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those on the replay version of this. So yeah, I think we'll end the broadcast right there.
Thank you very much.